Good evening, crew. How y'all doing? We're about a minute out. We're going to see what we can do for this new number station. And it's going to get loud just for a little bit because you're going to hear all the sounds. We're going to do this live and raw and see what happens. So guard your ears. Turn down your device volumes. Volume control now, because what I'm going to try and do is run the TDOA in spite of the Iranian bubble jammer on the frequency. So we're going to see if we can hear it behind the jammer, because the jammer looks pretty weak as far as the waveform goes. So we'll just give it a try. We'll do it live. Do it live. Thanks for being here, by the way. We'll see what happens. Well, Stephanie, we're going to see what we can run on the new number station, V32, since you're getting here late. The jammer is effective across the bandwidth of what the signal is. I'm sure the station that is running or controlling V32 is seeing this jammer as well. The Iranian bubble jammer is very effective. I mean, it's not an incredibly strong output right now, but it's sufficiently covering the upper and lower sideband of this frequency that we should be seeing some activity on in between, because there's two different signals here. The number station signal is a single sideband, upper sideband, and we should be seeing some pretty crisp lines through the back of the waveform of the jammer, and we're not. So that's telling me that they're not even trying to transmit the message tonight. So what we're going to do is I'm going to run a TDOA on the jammer and see if we can locate the jammer instead, since that's the only signal we got to work with. We'll let that run and get it sample. We'll turn this annoying noise off, and we'll see how effective the jammer is across the ocean. Of course, that's full. That's a good station up there. This is probably full. Yeah, jammer's making it across the ocean. It's faint, but it's there. Jammer doesn't scatter the signal, it just covers it up. It just renders the frequency unusable to any intelligible signal. Yeah, that's kind of as expected. So here's our TDOA return. So this shows likely propagation path from these stations. And it's given a return down here as most likely return for the jammer, but that's highly unlikely. More than likely, there's a propagation path that runs up through, see how it goes through the center, northern center of Iran, so that jammer is likely somewhere in this swath here. So that gives credence, or that basically gives evidence that the numbers station itself, if I can talk, the numbers station itself is being discussed as a Mossad CIA element and not a true, even though it's in the Farsi language, not a true Iranian spy number station. So otherwise the Iranians wouldn't try to be jamming their own number station if it was affiliated with the IRGC or similar things like that. So, you know, similar units in the armed forces of Iran. So more than likely, if most of the airstrikes have been, you know, in the populated and heavily militarized zone in the west of the country. So I'm sure there's radio stations, military sites where they can run this jammer, because there's been relatively few strikes up here in the less populated northeast of Iran. So I'm sure that's where that jammer is in there somewhere. If we wanted to dial this down further, let's see. You would need to run several samples of these, and we can do that and see which one is. That's the nature of a jammer, a lot of false returns. Pretty classic signature. Hard to locate by design. No hosts. Yeah. We'll run it again and see what happens. Render. Come on. We'll see if the map fixes itself. It might not. sometimes the software can be a little bit sketchy. There, oh, there it fixed itself. Thank you. There used to be, before the war started, there was quite a few more stations in the Middle East. There was quite a few radio clubs in Kuwait. Kuwait was full of SDRs. There was quite a few through the Gulf states, and they're all shut down now. These are all shuttered. Iran, of course, didn't have any, but Syria didn't have any. But I think there was 2 in Jordan, 4 or 5 in Iraq, about a half a dozen in Kuwait. Saudi Arabia had several, but they're all gone now, except for Baghdad and Doha, so major cities. And of course, these SDRs are filling up every night as people are trying to listen to the war. So makes monitoring a little bit more challenging, but not impossible, with SDRs anyway. Interesting. Keeps throwing it down here. Sri Lanka. But I doubt that. Let's run a new one. See, good spread. How you guys doing tonight? Leslie, these SDRs, they're open receivers, so you can pick up anything from 0 to 30 megahertz that's on the band. So that includes military, commercial, amateur radio, even broadcast stations. If I wasn't having much luck, which I'm not having to show you guys the V32 station because this bubble jammer is running in the background, or running over the frequency, basically. We'll see. We'll check and see if maybe like Iranian international shortwave is still running. We'll do some shortwave listening for a little bit too. Vane, I'm doing good. I wish this bubble jammer was off, but that's just how it goes sometimes. So yeah, a lot of the pathways take it back to, even though the station location is defunct, that's just the nature of these signals. It's showing a likely pathway, strongest pathway of propagation down through there. It would be a whole lot easier if there was all these stations left, but unfortunately during the course of the war they've all dropped out. So TDOA in this part of the world is going to be pretty much an impossibility, to be very, very accurate anyway. Okay. Let's check on shortwave. I just want to do a quick stream to give you guys a little something to be entertained with. And see what us radio dorks do in our spare time. If we're not actually messing with real radios. Just learned about EAMs in the last couple of years, yeah. Pretty much every major power on Earth, every country, military on Earth uses some form of encrypted HF open station, encrypted with, like EAMs are a good example of, it's the US Air Force sending out messages using alphanumeric encrypted characters that are a one-time pad, and the one-time pad is the key thing to understand. And to this date, after we are well over 100 years of in the open HF broadcast number stations being used, no one, to my knowledge, no military or intelligence agency has admitted over 100 years that they've cracked any of these from anyone. So it is a very ingenious and effective way of communication, of encrypted communication. I scrolled way too far. Talking and not thinking. Let's see if we can find Iran on here. If it's see what's playing. Radio Farda 5860. I thought that their other station was up. And showing they don't even start until 15:23. On for less than an hour.
مخصوصا قطعات بزرگ مثل تیراهن‌ها و قطعات بزرگ تیمایی رفتن که این ممکنه که دست پایین و فشار داره. اگر سطح‌های آموزش دیده‌ای هم تو منطقه باشه که احتمالاً اینا ممکنه در دسترس مردم نباشه، ولی بعضی از اینا حتما تو اعلام‌ها هستن، بهترین رسولایی هستن که تو اعمال مورد میتونن پیدا بکنن. و مهمتر از همه اینه که به محض اینه که شما در واقع مشاهده کردین سعی کنید که حالا با روزانه‌های محلی تماس بگیرید که محلی هم در طرف مسئولین. نکته خیلی مهم اینه که به هیچ وجه نباید توی مناطقی که آبان دیده ترافیک ایجاد کرد. یعنی اگر سوار ماشین هستید خواهش میکنم بزنید کنار، پارک کنید و از این منطقه به سرعت دور بشید، چون از این امتدادی که شما ایجاد میکنید امکان رسیدن آمبولانس‌ها یا نیروهایی که متخصص هستن رو به منطقه کم میکنه. این خیلی خیلی مسئله مهمیه. کشوری که کشور باید سعی کنن که کشوری فرسی رو بیل عروق نخورده اونها رو خواهش بکنن به شرایطشون دستکاری نکنن و اینا باید حتما کار پزشکی کنید خیلی متخصص نیست. واسه باید ناشی از موج انفجاری که اون راهش اینه که شما سطح زمین بخوابید، سعی کنید که تو معرض کمتر موج انفجار باشید. اگر این اتفاق افتاد که علائمی داره مثل درد یا زنگ زدن گوش، سرگیجه، سردرد شدید، اختلال شنوایی، نه حتما باید به پزشک مراجعه بکنید. سوختگی هم یکی از موارد.
I had to mute myself there for a second there. Let's see if we can look at some. Yeah, not much to really see. It looks like the damage is being done to Iranian telecommunications, at least what's standard. I'll turn that down. It's probably still, if this is accurate, the Kuwaiti station that's broadcasted to the Persian state, or in Persian, to Iran, all day long, 24/7, Radio Farda. Well, that was kind of anticlimactic, I know, but you got to try. You got to try. That bubble jammer undid what I really wanted to showcase, unfortunately. But Well, I got you all here. I can answer a few radio questions while we're on the topic, I suppose. So I know I saw one in the chat. I'll back up. Back up and see. Sherry asks, could you get reception like this on a Baofeng shortwave radio? Does Baofeng make a shortwave radio? Baofeng was the Boofwang was the VHF handheld HT handy-talkie models. I wasn't aware that if they made shortwave, but maybe they do. Let me check and see. Do you know the model of your radio? Put that into the chat if you have one. And yeah, VHF, this is a altogether different bandwidth. This is into the medium wave, the large antennas where they need to be meters or yards, many yards long wires. You can do it in loops and stuff like that too, but these bandwidths are the long propagation, high frequency. Your typical Baofeng, Boofwang handheld VHF, UHF radio that a lot of people have because they're just more ubiquitous as far as people being able to find them, and the cost point is lower. A lot of people pick those up, but anyway, that is very high frequency, and the range is very short, and it's a different type of signal as far as the electrical energy. Terrain becomes a bigger factor with VHF, UHF. Height matters more, and the distance is much lower. Even though you'll see radios advertised that can go in what's called a simplex, which is just radio to radio, no repeater in the middle, no signal booster in the middle. Really, throughout the U.S., unless you're out in the western, and you're out in the plains or you're on a mountain and you're talking down into a valley, things like that matters greatly. But you're looking at inside of 5 miles in most terrain, east of the Mississippi, maybe 7 to 10 if you're in mountainous terrain and you're in a high spot and you're broadcasting out and down. Might go 7 to 10, maybe 15. But that's where VHF repeaters come into play. Not to say that those radios aren't invaluable. If you leverage them correctly, they're invaluable. Lovely Lace, no, I am not military. I am not military. I cannot make the claim that I have ever been a part of or directly affiliated with a constant basis with the U.S. military. Yeah, that's correct. If it's the UV5R, if it's VHF, yeah, that's the typical model that everybody gets. What Vane's talking about there. Have an old ICOM 7000 receiver. We'll be getting it up and going again soon. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, them older radios, they're still incredibly useful. I know the hobbyists, will refer to them as boat anchors because they don't have all the whiz-bang stuff. But, when they're tuned correctly and they're in good shape and your vacuum tubes are in decent shape and not half burnt out, they're very, very useful tools. Power hungry, but they have benefits over the newer SDR radios, like the ICOM 7300 and the Yaesu equivalent 7910. 7910, that's an ICOM number. 710, like 710 FTDX, I think, is a pretty common Yaesu variant of, the same equivalent as an ICOM 7300. They're software-defined radios. They have their strengths and they have their weaknesses, and the old ones have strengths and weaknesses. And if I had unlimited funds, I would have a small collection of older vintage radios because they are pretty neat. 200 acres by a lake, lots of trees, but basically flat land. What's your recommendation for a SHTF radio for listening to info? That's a good question, Leslie. I'm going to make a lot of other radio operators mad and SHTF LARPers. Your best radio is a tabletop shortwave that can accept an external antenna. So let me see if I can find a good example of that. And put it up on the screen. I like Texun as a brand. They make good radios. Grundig, which is more expensive German versions, but they're incredibly nice radios. I've had a pocket Grundig world radio. It's about the size of a card deck, and you can buy a clamp wire, on a little spool that also fits in your pocket. And I've listened to stations around the world, shortwave stations, when propagation is nice on like summer nights. You can hear all around the world with that little thing. I should keep like a little cheat sheet list of radios to recommend because I get asked so often. I'll pull an example up here. You can see what I'm talking about. It's not too bad of a price point. And widely available, that's the other thing. You do want to get one that can accept single sideband. That'll enable you to listen to a lot of amateur and military and aircraft. Sea Crane is another company that's worth looking at. Their Skywave line is very affordable. I'll get a picture of it here and put it on the screen. If I can get a picture that'll sit still, because everything's got to be dangled in front of you like a monkey to get you to buy it. And I'm not affiliated with Sea Crane. I get no kickback. Yata, 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 all that stuff. They just make good radios and have for many years, and they're good price points. So something like this Orphan CC. Move this over since we're not really listening anymore. Now we're in radio talk land. Something like this, where you can get AM, FM, shortwave, NOAA alert, VHF aviation band. You got a lot of hours of listening built into that. And see here, it's got an external antenna jack and headphones, and a USB in, which is kind of handy for modern chargers and stuff like that. But looking for one that has sideband. Let's see if it says. It runs off of 2 AA batteries and a 5-volt DC 300 milliamp adapter for AC. That's an easy changeover adapter to battery power. 5-volt DC, so you can step down. That's really nice because you can find almost any number of batteries. Hardware store batteries, the big block. D-cell, not D-cell, what am I trying to say? You guys know what I'm talking about. The big rectangular batteries, they're 9-volt. You can step them down. You can run this if you step it down and buy a little bit more equipment. a step-down transformer, you can step it down to 5 volts and run it off a battery straight. You know, 5 volts is obtainable. Be more handy if it was 12 volt, but with that lower power demand, they don't really need to run it at 12 volts. So here's your frequencies: shortwave 2300, 2600. So that's a good slice of the shortwave broadcast bands. You know, all your military bands for the most part would be in there as well. Comes with a whip antenna. AM antenna is internal ferrite bar. Yeah, this little guy is what I'm talking about here. You can slide this over your mast antenna, the whip antenna, and then you can reel that out, and what that does is it lengthens your antenna to better accept the longer wavelength frequencies that are in the shortwave bands. But yeah, that would be a good one to start with. I'm not seeing international. Yeah, well, maybe this one wouldn't be the best because I'm not seeing a shortwave or a single sideband selection. So this would be a good one to play with for listening, international broadcast, and a general use. But bandwidth. Yeah, usually when they have a single sideband, they're upfront with it. Yeah, like this American Reserve calls it out straight with SSB digital tuning. So you can find a Texan. Similar price point. I'm not saying buy from AliExpress. You can find these on Amazon and other. If I can find the actual website. I'm pretty sure the PL600 has single sideband. Or here's SSB World. That's the next step up. $289 at Walmart, almost $300. But yeah, I know it's kind of expensive, but really your benchmark is $500 when you start getting into the really good, solid desktop shortwave radios. Is usually $500 and up. But as a good starter radio, I would look for stuff like that and just look for SSB in the capability. That'll get you started. Eton is a good brand too. So I like, just to throw out brands for you to look at to narrow down as far as quality: Texan, Eaton, Sea Crane, and there's a whole litany of cheap Chinese shortwave radios out there, which they do work, but your quality's not going to be the best. They tend to be kind of noisy, things like that. So Sea Crane and stuff like that has been an American manufacturer, for a long time. So that's what I would start with. Just my 2 cents. Just my 2 cents. Oops. HFGS is quiet currently. At least in Europe, anyway. Let's see what the buzzer's doing. There was some Rammstein trolling on the on the buzzer earlier today. If there's any music on there, I'm going to have to switch it pretty quick. No, looks like it's probably daylight over there now. They're getting close to. Yeah, almost. Almost. Yeah, not a bad idea to get the cheap to sacrifice. Garage sales, all that kind of stuff. If you see something, the old tabletop receivers, a lot of them, they were very button and push button and little clicky lever switch heavy. Those are just fun to play with. The newer ones, so you got to pretty much dial pad everything in. It's about as much fun as playing with a Casio calculator. You get tired of punching stuff in all the time, but the more dials, knobs, and switches, especially with getting the younger people, getting kids and stuff interested, not so much teenagers because they're screen zombies, but especially young kids like buttons, switches, knobs, tactile feedback, and a lot of tactile stuff will keep their attention for a long time, and that's a good one, a good way to get a little one to have fun with a radio. The new stuff's too digitalized. Well, I would have liked to catch V32, but unfortunately we didn't. Let's see if we got any questions. Yeah, if the grid got hit, it would be handy. Word for the day is patience. There's so much smoke going on out there. It's still a lot of denials and claims and back and forth, and nobody knows what's going on. They're not letting any information out. There's missile flying today. Some of the confirmed stuff that I heard of today, just to give you a quick rundown, was a pretty good attack, or a pretty effective attack by the Iranians on the Kuwaiti base that took out some fuel storage and took that runway offline. And I was tempted to show some stuff in the live stream yesterday. You never seen everyone this quiet? I don't know why. Not much to look at. That's a good idea, Leslie. It was rainy, soggy here, and cloudy. Otherwise, I would have been out piddling around in the yard for sure, just to get away from it. Not a bad idea. But yeah, the air base at Kuwait is pretty much been taken out of commission until they get the fire damage under control. I thought I took a snippet of it. Here's a snippet from OSINT Defender today on Twitter. Which way, Western man? He started a report about an F-15 Eagle that may have been shot down, and Central Command came out and said, It's not true. So he just backed everything up. It's like, his sources usually are pretty good, and there's some supporting media out here, but Big Daddy said no, there's no way American planes don't crash. Just ask the Kuwaitis. So you got that going on. Other thing I found interesting today, snippet from the file. This is shape for NATO. Supreme Headquarters, Allied Powers, Europe. So they came out today after seeing missiles and stuff like that going up to Turkey. And also Azerbaijan, which the Iranians have claimed Azerbaijan was a false flag. And if you guys remember, a couple weeks before everything touched off, there was special operation flights, U.S. special operation C-130s that flew into Azerbaijan and didn't leave. Not to say they did it. I'm not saying that we pulled a false flag in Azerbaijan or anything like that, but it's just a very fluid environment. And my contact in Azerbaijan is posting. She's still very much undisturbed by all this, so I don't think it's too hot. I'm sure she's aware of what's going on, but she's still posting like the little dance routines and stuff on. Not dance routines, but Instagram type stuff. So she's not going to be worried about it until all the makeup stores in Baku close down and she can't get her high-end Western makeup probably. But yeah, I found this interesting that basically NATO saying they did a successful intercept that targeted Turkey, and they're increasing their alliance-wide ballistic missile defense posture because of that. So you have, again, a fork in the road. There's been a 90% decrease of Iranian ballistic missile attacks since the beginning of the war, and one side, our side, the U.S. side, says they've pretty much taken everything out and defanged the Iranians. They can't hardly launch anything anymore. Well, if that's the case, why would you ramp up continent-wide, NATO-wide, and put all your ballistic missile defense on the European continent on any type of heightened alert or heightened defense posture? So there's a logical fork in the road. Maybe abundance of caution. Maybe everything is destroyed in Iran and they're not going to be able to get but half a dozen off, now. And, one or the other is true. They're either worried that a whole bunch of stuff is still possible and protected and buried and it's going to get drug out and used, or everything's been destroyed. And I think in the coming days, as this post-100-hour push gets underway by Israel and the United States for increased strikes and post-100-hour tempo pickup, if I'm the Iranian commander, that's when I'm starting to drag my hidden stuff out, because you're going to have a bunch of juicy targets with all the additional aircraft in the sky. Your risk profile is going to be through the roof, but your chance to take out a B-52 or an F-15, something like that, that's your largest window. And as I discussed in the live stream last night, I'm kind of surprised I wanted to go live again today, but that's neither here nor there. As I discussed in the live stream last night, their window of opportunity is going to become present when Israel and the United States pilots start convincing themselves they have 100% air dominance, and you're going to get a little bit cocky, and that's when you can have some problems. What do we got going on here? Oh, aircraft. Probably because I fat fingered the frequency again. See, I put 8892. It's 8, 9, or 9 or 2. Dummy. Now it's quiet again. I'm sorry you have a fever. God is my hero. I hope you feel better, bud. I do. Take care of that. That's the other thing. Don't neglect your health in these times. Try and take good care of yourself. Eat well. Well, thanks for showing up there. Weighs in for 10. Weighs in E for 10. Hello. Yeah, you missed a good bulk of the action. You might want to rewind. But I'm going to be shutting her down here pretty soon. I got a few more tasks I need to complete this evening before I hit the sack. So hoping to catch some very dull number reading on HF and show it to you guys. So, but what we can do, just for shits and gigs, let's just capture one. Let's just capture one live. Anyone. So we got one coming up in 8 minutes. East Asia target, V13. That should be the New Star Broadcasting, which is the Taiwanese New Star Broadcasting Station. Yeah. I can hang in for another 7 minutes, get this set up. Let's see. It's approaching daylight over there, so 11:430 would be a better choice, more than likely. And second choice is 9267 kilohertz. So let's hop across, find a half decent station. I've tried this guy before, and sometimes it's hit and miss with his station. Let you guys hear a interception of a genuine spy station. V13s have been in the catalog a long time. New Star Broadcasting. It's the Taiwanese resistance into China. 11:430. USB or AM. See what we can hear. See what we can see. What's going on with all the flip-flopping of countries supporting the U.S. and Israel? Nobody knows what to do. Because the longer this goes on, this is going to bring global economic pain in short order. I was talking about it, like I said, in the live. That was covered too. But so much important material, not just petroleum, flows both imported through the Strait of Hormuz and exported out. Petroleum products naturally exported out, and most of that goes to Asia. But at the same time, if that supply is lost, it's like I was looking at some of the tables today, and China gets roughly 40% of their leaner petroleum products, crude, things like that, and also refined. That's the other thing too, is there's only a couple places in the world where you have most of your refining capacity to take crude into usable product like gasoline and diesel you'd get at the store, or heating fuel or jet fuel, Jet A, things of that nature. And you cut that off. You cut 40% out of China. You cut a good deal out of India. I want to say they were like 60%. But Japan was the most worrisome. They said they get 70% of their both crude and refined products out of the Strait of Hormuz, and they're going to be out of oil in 8 to 9 months if this goes on. And we had the U.S. administration come out today and pretty much admit that they're looking at September, that this will still be going on. So you can see why the Japanese and why the Asian markets nosedived and tanked today. I'm going to let this run. I got to stop a process in the background, so I'm going to turn off my mic, and hopefully you guys will hear in 4 minutes the New Star broadcasting station out of Taiwan. You'll get to hear what that sounds like. Oh, dang it. And I'll be back in just a minute. Yeah, the broadcast is kind of weak tonight, but you get the idea. Here's what the outro, when they end, sometimes the messages can go on for many, many minutes. Sometimes it's a null and it's over in no time. But they have a very unique introduction, which is what I wasn't able to show you because I didn't catch it. How to date your Asian baby. Ting tong, ting tong, tong tong, ting tong. Sorry, I'm trying to resist. Welcome to Pot Sticker. You have pot sticker dinner on me, my family. Don't get me wrong, I love the Asians. Hope to travel in there sometime. Someday, maybe. But I will show you a place, if I can find a photo relatively quick, without doxing myself, of a recent, not recent, it's been a few years, but I was in this area years ago on the map. I'll show you a picture of it. Avoid Shanghai. Got to dig out my storage drive. I think I moved all these files off this particular computer, this machine. Come out of there, you mother. Oh, that was dumb. Let's do this one. Watch my USB inputs here. Imagine that's not where I pointed to on the map, but that's one of my personal photos. I'm sure you can tell what that is. And I did look. That is not a secret entrance behind the ear, unfortunately. That's where the ancient stonemasons had cut in to support another piece. So I did look. That was still when you could walk up and around the Sphinx on the Giza Plateau. Yeah, sad to report there is no door there to a secret library. Might be in the bottom, though. But where I was pointing, between the pauses, the passage, maybe. I couldn't crawl down there. They would have been on me in a hot minute if I had a pick and shovel and was walking down there. The Egyptian Department of Antiquities would have not appreciated that. But okay, chat. Now, if some of you that are more well-traveled know where this place is, I gave you a hint already by pointing on the map, but if you can tell me the name of the place, I'm just curious to see if anybody can guess it. New feed from the Mars rover. Nope. No, as you can see, there's old Toyotas down there. They don't have any Toyotas on Mars, at least that I know of. Any guesses? Anyone take a guess? You will not be made fun of. Although I was close, I was there. I can show you a picture. I got a couple of pictures where I'm not in it. No, not Area 51, but I have been there. Unfortunately, I'm in most of the pictures. Got a couple guesses in. Anybody? Anybody? Very characteristic rocks and worn down mountains, and the color of the sand gives it away. Nope. Not the Sahara. That is a picture of part of, I'll just tell you now, it's Wadi Rum. Yep, Aldo's got it. I was kicking around in the desert in Jordan in Wadi Rum in 2018. It was a fun trip. Wadi Rum. Amman was a nice town too. Amman, Jordan was a nice town. I went to the bazaar. And this is in Jordan vein. Wadi Rum Desert of Jordan. And I stayed with a Bedouin camp in there and had a very nice Jordanian intelligence guide. He was a super nice guy though. Hello, Hoots. Thanks for popping in. Yeah, Aldo, it's a place. It's a very unique. It's a very unique place to go, and the Bedouins are nice. They're good. They're an ancient culture, and they very much know that they've been relegated to having to be somewhat tour guides. But it's worth a trip. It's worth a trip. It'll change your life. Make you see other cultures differently. Yeah, Amman has really good food. They have really good food, and they have a huge bazaar and friendly people. It's an amazing place. It's not like what you see on movies and TV, that's for sure. That's for sure. You got to watch out for up on the pyramids, though, on the plateau proper. When you get close to the pyramids, man, do they have the sales. The local merchants, they will press gang you into buying something. So you kind of have to hold your ground and learn the Arabic word, the Eastern Arabic word for no, which is la, la, like, la la la. You just say la, means no. Ah is yes in Arabic. So yeah, a smile and a few keywords will get you pretty far. That's for sure. Let's see if I got anything else I can show you without doxing myself, since I think this is a safe one. Yeah, there's Wadi Rum. More pictures of Wadi Rum. And in the rock areas, in these areas, civilization has been in this area for so long that there's these enclaves. There's a tree growing out of the rocks, but there's these enclaves as you get closer to the mountains, where they're eroded in. And when you go inside, I don't think I was in one of them that didn't have an ancient petroglyph of some kind, from the ancient Bedouin people that had migrated through that area for thousands of years in the past. But every nook and cranny that was somewhat sheltered when you went in there, pretty much all of them had petroglyphs of some kind in the faces of the rock. Aldo wanted to see Petra, so I'm going to try and find classic photo of Petra. There you go. There's the treasury. There you go, Aldo. Taken from my camera. Yeah, you had to have some connections. I mean, there was quite a few people there. But yeah, you do. You know, you got to get a visa proper, and at least in 2018 when I was there, you know, as long as you were obviously there for tourism, and it wasn't your only stop, and you were doing a full circuit, you know, basically quote unquote, they got their money's worth out of you, kind of thing. Then they were happy with it. So yeah, saw the entire ancient stretch of Petra in the canyon, Wadi Rum. Was up on the mountain that Moses saw the Holy Land, viewed the Holy Land from, all that good stuff. I was by the Red Sea. I saw the salt pillars that was from the legend of, you know, the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. Was it Lot's wife, I think? All that kind of stuff, so. Yep, it was a beautiful place. It was a beautiful place. I wish I could show you more pictures, but unfortunately either myself, a family member, or a guide was in it. So, in some of them. Yeah. Yep, but enough about me. Enough about me. So, well, that's going to do it for this live crew. I'm going to cut this one a little shy of 2 hours. We'll try again. I'll see if I can catch it without it being jammed. But, you know, let me know. Leave a comment after the live stream's over if you were watching or lurking, or you watch this later after the live stream ended, and if you want to see more radio dork stuff like this, then let me know. Leave a comment, and we can have radio nights on this channel and stuff like that if you want. Or I can tell grandpa stories about the areas of the world that I've been to, which isn't expansive, but I have traveled some. Yeah, I'm happy to talk about it. So hope you all have a pleasant evening and a good night. Thanks for hanging out. I'm going to leave the chat open for a while if anybody wants to talk amongst each other. Remember, the chat is open and unmoderated. You can talk about anything you want as long as you follow basically the chat rules, which are very simple. It is your soil radio operator's First Amendment cage match area. And everybody's welcome, of all stripes, of all religious persuasions. I don't want the chat to turn into this giant brawl between religions or anything, but you guys can talk about, you know, anything you want. If you are atheist, you're welcome in the chat. If you're Christian, if you're Muslim, if you're Baha'i, if you're Eastern Orthodox, Buddha, all that good stuff. It doesn't matter religion-wise. I know most of you know me from the channel that I moderate for, which, being a moderator for another channel, is you have to conform and uphold the rules that the channel creator puts forth. And I have no problem doing that, but I'm a very different person than a good part of me has to be chopped away when I'm in the chat and what I moderate and what I, you don't know the full me, put it that way. You don't know me very well if you're only exposed to me in the New York Prepper chat. You know the technical side of me, what I can do with radios and, you know, military observations and stuff like that, but you don't know the personality side of me very well, other than maybe I like to joke around and have fun. But other than that, I am a very different creature on my own, and that's why I started my own channel. Because some of you might want to get to know me or have an experience that's different from that. So, yeah, have to be much different there. You can be yourselves here completely. If you are a 100% cheerleader for, the Iranian regime, go to town. Just prepare to be challenged, and you're going to have to debate and stick up for yourself. If you're a 100% cheerleader for Israel and the United States, go to town, say whatever you want, make your points civilly, but you're going to have to likely defend yourself from challenges to your points of view. So that is what I want to see in my chat, is people simply trying to learn from each other and engage with one another without the risk of being completely smacked down because you said something that goes against the vein of an established channel. And there's nothing wrong with that. He has every right to make it that way. That's his channel. He can make it however he wants it, and I have no problem with that. But this is my channel, and I can make it however I want it. So, you guys, yeah. And I'm an American citizen. I consider myself a classic American patriot. Am I happy with a lot of things I see in my country? No. Do I have a lot of criticism? Yeah. But because I have criticism of my own country and I want to see it do better and I want to see its people prosper and be healthy and safe and truly free, because I come up with criticism for any side, the blue D's or the red R's or the purple L's or whatever you want to call them, just because you formulate criticism for something that you see doesn't automatically make you a traitor to your nation. And I think we've lost a lot of that. So, yeah. So, yeah, I'll play some music. We'll go back and let me know your thoughts on radio nights, how you want, some things, some of these lives to be shaped. And we'll have open chats again in the future where it's just a complete free-for-all, and I let you guys drag me off into the weeds and have your way with me, information-wise. And there could be some nights, too, where I don't hardly speak at all, and you guys are just going back and forth in the chat. I'm totally cool with that. I'll put on music, mess around with some SDRs in the background for some of you, but, if you guys want to get on here and just have a battle royale debate about a certain topic, you're more than welcome. And I'll just sit back and chill. We'll have some Miller Time nights too, where it's just completely relaxed and we can talk about anything on a live chat. So, yeah, I'll put some music on softly chat and keep this open for a while. And I will talk to you guys later. Have a good night. Be good to each other. And I'll be watching the chat a little bit too in the background. Peace out.